like to start by saying all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Kodash, double winners unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and Shalom to the whole full elect.
Shalom.
I'm going to do a video of edification for the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Shai. You know, the year of hastening unto the coming of our Lord, more or less halfway through the year, man. And it's momentous. You have Boris Johnson came out and basically said that he said it's enough is enough, basically. And said we look forward to moving, like, let's move forward, we're living with COVID, basically. And the actual post I saw was like a social media post, and someone's like, I hope so. Or like, you know, these lot are just selling the streams. But it's like, nah, he ain't really saying you're a dream. He's saying living with COVID, alright, living with a C. So that's what they want to do. And this is the thing, this is why where we have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Shai, Ba'Shem, Kodash, we have the foresight to know that the prophecies of the word of the Heavenly Father, and to see what's going to happen. We see what's said that's going to happen before we see what's going to happen before it happens, basically. So someone in the general public will be like, oh, let's hope that they do that. But they don't know that they're going to, they'll do that, but there'll be a catch. And only the catch is going to be the MLB, that mark. All right? You got something?
Mm-hmm.
Or you got any words you want to say?
No, it's Wisdom of Solomon 5:1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. Yeah, so, you know, with this work going out, this word is inflicting heavy damage upon, the spiritual wickedness in high places, man. These guys that basically hold sway, that are pushing forth their agenda throughout the earth, this word that's coming out. Because just like with the brother mentioned, it's the hastening the coming of Yahweh Shai. That's basically what all that labor is doing. That's hastening forth onto the coming of Yahweh Shai, which is the end of Esau's rule. And this is getting them touchy, and why they're looking to get their things in swiftly. They're looking to enact plans.
Revelation 12 and 12.
Yeah, they're what did I see it as well? There was saw an article today basically outlining how there's going to be top ups for the Max boosters in September. They're looking to have them out by then, and that's like the brother mentioned, moving forward with the C. That's basically what like they're looking to utilize it to construct that new normal, which has already been constructed. It's just now pressing forward, with the vaccination passports and the various other factors leading towards that mark. It says what? When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. Yeah, troubled with a terrible fear. Because seeing these videos, that's why there's work going out, these videos going up online. That's it's throwing heavy fear upon these men. That's why they're zapping down channels, and that's why they're basically they've expanded greatly in like the last year, 2 years, expanded greatly. How they're just like, okay, look, certain things, certain buzzwords, just bang. Yeah, we get a little notification thing under your video saying like, oh, details about XYZ, why you should trust XYZ, how to get true. Every time you go on YouTube, they'll have like the little section saying, oh, NHS information, why you should get the vaccine, all these different things here. That's what they have. So it's he's basically, because he the word ain't stopped, the word's still going out. Despite all the attempts, all the labor, these the spirit, the guys at the top of these organizations are putting in to try and put an end to this word, it's not occurring. And it says as well, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. And that's, you had like the report come out. I still you looked at it, the UFO report come out like 2-3 days ago, maybe like a bit like less than a week ago. Still, I don't think it's even been a week. That thing came out, and it's like basically they said, well, from what I've heard, it's like they've said, there's no one on Earth that can be responsible for certain phenomena, which is thing is the guys at the top, the elites, because even before it came out, Obeezy said like, oh yeah, there's UFO. It's so they had the military generals. There are a few generals come out and mention certain things through certain interviews before. These things have been known, and it's like footage has come out, multiple bits of footage has come out, but it's to the people in the world, they don't know what it's related to. But what? They're the chariots of the Most High. And basically for them, they're going to be used, that's that vessel of salvation that's going to be used for Israel. So that's another, it says what? It's a curse that goeth forth. To the people on the earth, it's a curse. For them, they don't know what, that is the chariots are a marker of. They just see them coming out, they're like, oh, they've been there. It's like, oh, is it aliens? Oh, they come to visit us. They don't realize they're spiritual vehicles, which is why within them it's the angels doing the work of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai.
It's gonna abduct the elect of the earth, man.
Mm-hmm. So it says, so far beyond all that they look for, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. Yeah. So that's basically looking at Jake, because this is the thing, is this is why you still have the conversation about reparations, about you still have BLM, you still have all these different little movements, which is basically essentially Jake still trying to just come to be an equal level with the so-called white man within his society. That's still what they're clamoring and clawing for within this place, just to try and please, I don't want to eat out of the dog bowl anymore. I just want a knife and fork and a plate, like you have. But that's they've never granted that. Jake has always. That's why it's still. Why is it still to this day? I thought the what do you call it? It was civil rights movement in the '60s. I thought that shit was over and done with. But still to this day, you had like what 2-3 days ago. What's his name? Derek Chauvin get slammed in jail. That guy got slammed under the jail for I think it was like 22 years. 22 years to life or whatever it is. So like even he got thrown, he got thrown under the jail because of which is just that's symbolic. That don't really mean anything, because as far as like still to this day, Jake is still being oppressed within the society, still being having that pressure applied onto them within the society. It even goes back like just historically, like the robbed goods of Israel are still in Esau. Esau still, all that labor, all that wealth that was gained, all these resources that were harvested by Esau, the knock-on effects of those he's still enjoying. So that's why I even said earlier as well, and made no account of his labors. That's what Esau does. Now it's just like, oh, well, just get a job. Why should I? It wasn't me. It was my grandparents. Why should I have to? But that's Isaiah 14:21 cuts that cleanly. So it says, what we fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of the Most High, and his lot is among the saints? So yeah, that's how you can have, the scales of the balance tip. Because that's the thing is what you've had is Esau's power has been ebbing, and this is another reason why they're feeling that fear. That Esau's whole system is fundamentally crumbling from the foundation. That's why this monetary system is on life support. Man have been given cash injections since I don't even know how long quantitative since they killed the gold standard, which was I think the 70s, early 70s. Maybe it was the 80s. No, I think it was early 70s. But I think they killed the gold standard, and then afterwards they kind of changed. It was a process. But since then, they've just been able to, the Fed, which isn't even run by the government, it's a private banking organization, which shows those that have control over the money, they're on a different level than just you believe your elected officials. So these guys have what is it? Yeah, so the monetary system is on life support. That's why you have crash after crash after crash, and now it's in a state where it's, a crash is is inevitable. Even the housing market's been ballooning. I think in the States more, and then London's housing market is a criminal enterprise anyway, man. But all the state of the morals within society is completely degrading, man. It's 2 weeks. It's like 5 years away from just pedophiles just saying, but I was born that way, and then just becoming accepted. Everything's been on decline, and it's continuing. It's only being sustained, man. The winds are being held back. So it says, therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined onto us, and the Son of righteousness. Okay. We made a sound. No. So therefore, okay. Therefore have we. Therefore, verse 6. Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined onto us, and the Son of righteousness rose not upon us. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yea, we have gone through deserts where they lay no way. But as for the way of the Lord, we have not known it. What have pride profited us, or what have good have riches with our vaunting What good have riches with our vaunting brought us? All those things are passed away like a shadow, and as a post that hasted by. Yeah, so all this, the pride is a big thing. Because imagine now, it's actually, it's the last day, because the 30th, it's the last day of that Pride Month, which is one of the things is in the scriptures, it says pride is not made for men. But what that Esau is utilizing that pride emboldening it within that LGBT, man, that whole enterprise, which is a verse from the scriptures. There's various scriptures which completely cut how that can have any form of righteousness. So then linking it up with pride, that's just complete wickedness. And that's Esau emboldening himself within that wickedness. Same thing that went down in Sodom before it got, that nuclear fire that rained down and took it from off the face of the earth. And that's the thing, and same thing with them. When that was happening, all that pride got erased. And it says, and as a ship that passeth over the ways of water, which when it is gone by, the trace thereof cannot be found, neither the pathway of the keel and the waves. Yeah, when a ship passes through water, and then you see when you see a ship, you see all the foam like around the front of it when it's passing through an area. Then after it's gone, you got the little trail. And after that trail's gone, that shit just turns back to ocean. When you just look at any random bit of ocean with nothing around, that shit looks like the rest of it. There's no mark. That's how it's gonna be. Because in the kingdom, ain't no one gonna be thinking about Esau or America or Las Vegas or San Fran or LA. They ain't gonna be thinking about Coachella or I don't know what's. They ain't gonna be thinking about the Wireless Festival. They ain't gonna be thinking about any of that shit. Because why? It's all that's it's gonna be gone.
Fashion of the world passed away.
Gone. It says as verse 11, or as when a bird have flown through the air, there is no token of a way to be found, but the light air being beaten with the stroke of her wings and parted with the violent noise and motion of them.
Even like when you have chemtrails from planes. Chemtrails are totally different from the natural thing that's created by planes being contrails, which is a mark that'll be like brushed through by a plane, like air. However, it goes with the science. Air basically being cut through by the wing of the plane, and basically it leaves a mark in the air momentarily. But you ain't gonna be able to, like, I can't walk up to the window right now, look out the window and say, oh look, there's a mark leading to LA. Let's follow it.
Yeah.
It's not there.
And you can
and let alone a bird they're speaking of.
Because even like with planes, you can go online and find all the different flights that are happening, and line them up, and then you could be like, okay, so I should see X, Y, and Z flying past. You ain't gonna see shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you should have seen the trail of them, but that's it, and that's how it's gonna be. Because this is the thing is, when like the pride of this place is really people think they're leaving a landmark for eternity, man. They really think that what's running now is really gonna be is really gonna run. In 1,000 years, people are gonna be thinking about about the Olympics. They're gonna be thinking about the World War II, thinking about all the little things. Think Albert Einstein's and Sigmund Freud's and Esau's wise men. They think that these guys are gonna be remembered for all time.
This is just for this time that we're in presently in this moment.
Yeah, that's why when Esau okay, let me read this. Psalms 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Yeah, so they're thinking all these things are going to last forever. They think just like, the White House or the Washington Monument or
America.
Yeah, the
Africa,
whole of America. All these with the names, I was saying just like the landmarks, the houses, like the different things they build. Esau's built.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah, the desolate places because everyone's like the Seattle Needle and the Big Apple, the Empire State.
Yeah,
which is
that's where you'll find those things in those countries.
So they're really sitting there thinking these things are gonna Madison Square Garden and whatever. That's gonna be there in 300, 500 years. That's why even when you do post-apocalyptic movies, it's always based around these places that like are well known. Like they'll do it Piccadilly Circus. They'll do Madison Square Garden. They'll do I don't even know the name of it. Well, like Las Vegas, where will be that main strip on Las Vegas. They'll do like notable places where it's like they'll have big icons. Be like, wow, everyone recognizes globally where it is because they've seen it in movies. And there's people thinking like, yeah, even 300 years, shit's gonna be destroyed, but you'll still have just like a little bit of it left. They really, that's the vanity and pride.
That's even why the elites are creating Elysium, man.
Yeah.
Ready to depart
the
moment of nuclear warfare and then come back down and colonize the world.
Yeah. They're thinking it's gonna, that's the pride as well. Because why? Satan's, he's deceived them, man.
I got something. 1 Corinthians 7:29. But this I say, brethren, the time is short, it remaineth. The time is short. That goes into what the brother just read in the book of Psalms 49:11 about the houses continuing forever. Because that, even though they think that, as the brother said, Satan deceived them, Revelation 12:12, they know that they're fighting against like a nick of time kind of thing. They're in their mind, they're looking like, if we can just get out of here before the destruction comes, when it comes, then we can come back down and do our thing. That's why it says, but this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they have had none, and they that weep as though they wept not. Yeah. So basically, this is the way we ought to arm ourselves mentally. That when we live in this world, that we basically was gonna go on to say it. And they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it. Alright? So basically we're to use this world, but in the use of it, we're not to abuse it. We're not to try and do the utmost thing. Like, I don't know what Brothers of Pocket saying, but you ain't meant to be out here like I'm gonna be trying to become a billionaire while you're in the faith. The Lord said you can't you can't serve the Heavenly Father and Mammon, basically. So your main priority ought to be what? Seek ye the kingdom of the Most High, and all things shall be added unto you. That's meant to be a priority. That's why it says, and they that buy as though they possess not, verse 31, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. So in that mindset, you're meant to think like, look, everything that's before us is gonna be gone at some point. And then that goes into what the brother's saying. None of this stuff's gonna be found. It's gonna be gone. They ain't gonna be here. No one ain't gonna be checking in the kingdom. No one ain't gonna be thinking about, you know what, I'd love to go down to the fashion district over there in Manhattan. I don't know the name of the avenues and the roads and the streets. So
yeah, it'll be like the UK would be like Oxford Street, Carnaby Street, Bond Street. All these
New Bond Street, the Fire, Piccadilly Circus,
Mm-hmm.
No one ain't gonna be thinking about that. They ain't gonna be what our mind's gonna be geared towards. It's gonna be a whole different setup going on. People gonna be saying, let's go down to Jerusalem. That's actually in the scriptures.
Mm-hmm. We'll read this.
Alright.
Job 12:16. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. Yeah, so the deceiver and the deceived are his. Because that's figures is Esau is the deceit, man. This guy's out here. He's thinking that his agenda was gonna supersede the scriptures in some manner, but that can't be so. So he's that whole left hand side. He's delving into. He's empowering himself through. They're for the Most High is at the head of that, man. The Most High is signed off. Just like with Satan, when Satan made the deal with about Job, saying like, okay, it was what the parameters were set by the Most High. Said, okay, you can touch his substance, you can touch his family, but you can't touch him. Then it was like, okay, you can touch his, actually I think it was the substance. Well, actually, maybe it was the substance and the family at the same time. But I know it was afterwards. Then
he just couldn't touch Job, innit?
Yeah, and then afterwards it was you can touch his body as well. So it was the parameters were set, and that's how it is, and that's the thing. It's let me read this as well. Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, and the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Yeah, bounds have been set. Whatever the limits of what Esau can do, that's all he's going to be able to do. Because that's why it said, for the elect's sake, the days will be shortened. Because why? If Esau was allowed to go to the full extent of what he wants to do, there'll be no flesh left to be saved. That means Esau would be destroying to the point there would be no sustenance. That's a funny thing. It's like you have people talking about like global warming and etc. All this kind of the planet not being able to survive, which the Lord said the earth abideth forever, so the earth ain't gonna be destroyed. But it's like if Esau was allowed to move without no limits, then he would just destroy everything. The guy's got that's his nature. He's a destroyer. You were you gonna get?
Yeah. So this is the book of Isaiah 2, and verse 2 on down. It says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains." So that's talking about what? Mountains denote rulership, governments. Alright, that's why you have when you have the G7 or these different functions, they're called summits, because a summit is basically where the peak of a mountain is. Alright, so it's the peak of mountains meeting basically. But it's saying what's being said in the scripture is that Israel, the nation of Israel, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Gad, Manasseh, Reuben, Issachar, so on and so forth, are going to be exalted above all the other nations in that day. and shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow unto it. Alright, that's going to be the center point of the earth as it was before. Because when you go into the history of the land of Jerusalem, it was a main, and that's why the king of the north, the king of the south took place, because that's basically the center point of the world. Basically, that's where you go down into the land of Ham, the Fertile Crescent, and then you go up into Europe. Then you go off into the Orient, the east, the Far East, being with Moab and Ammon, where they're at right now. All right, and Elam. So it says, and many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord Yahweh, to the house of the Most High of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord Yahweh from Jerusalem, and he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation, rather than what they did in the book of Joel, where it says they shall beat their plowshares into spears and their pruning hooks into swords. Because basically, we're in a time, as it tells you in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, there's a time for every season, and basically the time that we're in right now is a time of war. But when we go into the kingdom, the rulership of Israel, alright, that'll be the time of peace. So there will be no need for no weapons of warfare. So it says, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord Yahweh. So that's even more reason for us to see Isaiah was exalting, because it tells you in the book of Kings that basically the whole nation of Israel was to turn to face the east and basically ask the Lord to save us, that we be taken out of captivity. We got the book of Judges. That's why I tell you, it's right in the 2nd chapter. Go to any of our forefathers, anyone that trusted in the Lord, did he not follow through basically? And the answer is he did. Alright? So if our people did that, we'll be out of this hell. But that ain't gonna happen, because that ain't how the Heavenly Father set up. Alright?
Yeah, this captivity is the final captivity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's those of the elect and the Israel, the Most High, and the rest of Israel, the separation is going to be made, and then the elect are going to make it through to the kingdom without tasting the second death. But hey, the rest are going to have to get that before eat the fire before they get brought back in the kingdom. So this is final judgment, man. Against, because Esau is basically the most wicked. He's taken wickedness to its peaks, never before seen peaks. So that's why his judgment is a never before seen judgment, and the reward for Israel, never before seen reward. Where have that eternal kingdom. Yahushua is going to be there, and Jake will never go off.
Much is given, much is required,
man. Read this, Psalms 10:1. Why standest thou afar off, O Most High? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. Yeah, and that's what's going to go down with this judgment. Because one of the things that Esau thinks, he's become, he thinks he's become a godlike figure, is with that nuclear missile, man. That nuclear technology. When they developed the A-bomb, it was there. You got the quote from what's his name? I think it was Rockefeller. Or was it Oppenheimer? No, it was
Oppenheimer. I've become the
I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. So that was Esau basically thinking he'd attained levels where he was now able to sit as God and rule over everyone. But that's the Most High said he was the one who set the Smiths up, man, set them scientists up to develop these things, to blow up the coals in the fire. So it says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart, verse 3, For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Most High abhorreth. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his faults. Yeah, so he's so what blesseth the covetous. That's this society is built around Esau's Esau basically worshipping and praising and giving shine unto wickedness, whereas righteousness is frowned upon. Being a man of integrity, having honor and committing to to a path that's not esteemed. And this is that's how everything's been flipped. It's all been turned upside down. And it says, what his ways are always grievous, thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Yeah, his ways are grievous. That's any manner by which Esau, decides to do something. It's always grievous, man. You have to wonder, why is it the biggest thing that people in the world really kind of use to be like, oh, I'm a good person, is donating money to charity. But then when you deal with these charities, they only have to utilize, I believe in the UK, it's 5%. It might be more now, but as last time I checked, it was they only have to use 5% of what's donated. So 5 pence of every pound has to actually be used for the cause. So that means, you can have people laundering out, shaving off, which I think there's history, a lot of history of a lot of them guys just using it as rackets.
And that's why they present that as the pinnacle of being a good person. And this is the funny thing, you have Edomites, they really buy into that, man. There'll be a full blown crackhead, man, a nitty, walking on a train. Can anyone, sorry to bother you guys on the journey.
Yeah.
Could you let me in?
Yeah,
and they'll be like, I
just need somewhere to sleep tonight.
And they'll be like, okay, they'll give them money, or they'll be like, I haven't got no change, but I can give you a packet of crisps. I'm thinking, you people are so far removed from what's going on right here. The nigga wants to buy crack, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying a nigga, I'm saying it could be a cracker, man. He wants to buy some crack, man. But that's how that's their kumbaya moment. Where it's I do good things. I take care of people.
Yeah.
But that's why the word says, and this is why the scriptures are very powerful. It says, when thou do good, knows who thou do good unto.
Yeah.
Because they're just, in their mind, they're doing good. But that ain't no good. You're basically aiding the guy to fucking buy crack, man.
To destroy himself.
For his destruction.
Because it's with, same thing with the charities. These guys are donating money. There was, what was it, the Gap Year paedophile, man. That guy was a fucking criminal, man. Mm-hmm. This guy was going on what they call, I can't remember what they call it, man.
And
but it's that,
yeah, go on, sorry.
That when these white people kind of go on
Gap Year, and they go traveling.
Yeah, traveling to poor country. They usually go India or something. There's a term for it they made for it of thingy traveling, not poverty traveling, something. Because it's basically, that whole culture of just, Edomites going somewhere and then just being like, oh, I helped out, I aided, I went and I did, they might go and teach at a school or something, and they'll be like, oh, they always have that picture of them just surrounded by a bunch.
Backpacking.
But not that, because it is that, but there's a term thingy tourism, not poverty tourism, something tourism. But yeah, they'll go and present they've made some form of difference. But this is the thing is
slum tourism.
Probably that, yeah. Or ghetto tourism that involves visiting impoverished areas.
Maybe not.
Do see also disaster tourism. I don't know. It might be that, but it might not ish. It could be. There's a thingy term. But yeah, that's Esau as well. Just kind of because he shifted how, what righteousness is in the world. Because people think that a good person will be you help a little old lady cross the street, You know, this little lady went through 50 years ago. She could have been calling your grandmother a nigger. Like, you know, that's who you're helping. And she moved the fuck out of London because she didn't want to see no black faces. But you're like, oh, darling, you're right. It's you know what, and then it's you know, donating money to charity, which is, you know, a lot of those are criminal organizations. And then all Esau does, everything is when you deal with, when you get to the highest levels, it's all criminality, man. Because that's what's rewarded. People are saying like, oh, why do all these big companies never pay tax? That's because you're a monkey who has to pay tax. That's why. Verse 6. He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privately set against the poor. Yeah, that's, you know, Esau's, all Esau's, that's the thing as well, is his policies that he uses. That's a lot of what he does, the way he's killing and destroying people. He does it free. He doesn't have to go out there and send out cops, you know, to just laying a bunch of jakes in the head. He has, you know, policies like redlining and various other forms of like ways of just basically fucking over Jake, which he's done historically, and now he's just like, oh, it's so terrible. Here, have, you know, what, Juneteenth, have some Juneteenth to you know, twerk on police cars, because you know, because that's all that you want in it. But then he's throwing you crumbs. Meanwhile, he's got, you know, the billions that he's made off the back of your destruction for hundreds of years. That's why it's all that he does. Is people now be like, oh wow, no, he's changed. He's helping. Like, you can't really complain now because no, but then okay, like then what is he gonna go back and address what he did historically? Hell no.
And Jake know that, and they won't bring it up.
Man, even Tony Blair, man, this guy was getting blasted for the war that was based on BS that him and fuck's that guy called, man, and Bush started, where it was like, come out, yeah, it was an illegal war. They knew there was no weapons of mass destruction. They just went in there for, you know, for their own interests. And then this guy Blair came out and said, I'll do it again. Like, this is, you know, this is who you you know, you're backing, you're building up. Because why? Because he's the wicked, man. Yeah, he's all he's doing is looking to the you know, bring death and destruction and fulfill his insatiable greed. You got something?
No.
Okay. In fact. Jeremiah. Jeremiah 50 and 9. Well, let's start from 8. Remove out the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Yeah. You know, Babylon, this new Babylon that's been built, is the same thing as all the previous heathen kingdoms. That's why it's you know, it's referred to as Sodom, Egypt, Babylon. It's the rebirth of the Roman Empire, that same beast that was around before. Esau's, emboldened himself in the same wickedness, and it's gonna have the same end, because that's the deceit that really people are caught in. Is they're really thinking this is some sort of special or great place, but this is that's because they're not dealing with the reality. They're drunk on dreams, man. Esau's got great control over deceit and lies. That's his foundation, his bedrock, man. How he built himself up. Whenever you look at Hollywood, the way if you were to look at the representation of reality, from like movies, from TV shows, from cartoons, from all these things, like it's you would actually think reality is that justice actually exists out here, man. I was watching a YouTube video. It was one guy that he was a uni student, well, college, whatever, America, and then so it's like he went to a bar, got with some drunk girl, went to a place, had sex with her, whatever, and then left. Then like the following morning, she said that no, she didn't say it. Her friends said that he raped her, and then because of that, he got fucking got kicked off his course. He was basically treated like he'd done it until the decision came through that overturned it. And the thing is like they had footage of like him in a bar and her just coming onto him and just being mad eager to go and slam him. When he was outside, there was footage of him getting into the taxi with her just being bare, hugging up and all that on him. But then he still got fucked over. And they'll say, oh, that's it's great justice, the truth came out, blah blah blah. But that's because everything's a fucking bizarre world, man. Where like complete and total madness can go down, man. It's like who's that guy who died? What's his name? McAfee, man. This guy that is was killed. They're saying, oh yeah, he definitely committed suicide. Meanwhile, the guy had contingencies for saying that he wouldn't ever do that beforehand. So some fishy shit went down, and that's the thing. It's like when you get to a certain kind of level, you say a bit too much, you come a bit too against the agenda. Some of the times you can just get whacked. This the way Esau rules, it's the same wicked rulership that it's always been. But people out here have been fed illusions. They'll watch what is it, like CSI or Law and Order or whatever, and they'll think, oh, there's people out there that are working hard and striving to kind of come to the truth of the matter. But then the real shit is if you watch The Wire, man. Because The Wire, they'll show you how that shit is rigged, man. The game's rigged all round. Especially when it comes to Jake. That shows why the hood being fucked and staying fucked that's an institution, man. There are multiple levels of just stacking up, of completely keeping the hood a destroyed hellscape.
Or scripture.
God.
Nahum 3:1. Woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not.
Yeah. The prey departeth not. It's what, full of lies and robbery. That's the thing, is how this all got built up is what was Esau went. How did America start? Esau went to the Americas, butchered the Northern Kingdom, stole their land, continued to butcher them, and kicked them out to the shitty, unproductive bits of land. Then afterwards, just dashed them a few casinos, saying like, yeah, here you go. And then went to the West Coast, grabbed up Jake from there, grabbed up Jake from Europe, took him to the States, put him in hardcore bondage, and then afterwards was just like, okay, yeah, you man are free, but you ain't got shit, so continue working them fields. And then said, yeah, he's like treats it like he's done some great thing, man. This guy's patting himself on the back, saying like, "Oh, we ended slavery. Slavery was a thing that existed for blah 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 kind of years and blah." Nigga, please.
There wouldn't be no slavery unless you fucking started.
If you went over there, like, no, you don't get a pat on the back for that, man. You ain't even recompensed for all that you gained from that. It's just, yeah. So we ended it. We ended one of the most. We should be thinking about modern day slavery. Nigga, give me a break, man. Come on, man. It's this. The reality of what goes on. A lot of people don't know history. A lot of people don't know context. Don't know what. It's like when you're like, think back to when you're in the world. How deep did you really look into things? You ain't really trying to find out what went down. I didn't really know too much about the actual situation of Jake being in the UK until like a few years down the line. And the truth, when you kind of start researching, looking into it, and you're like, raw. Now I see why shit was so fucked and why it stays being fucked presently. And that's something that all Jakes come round to. Where either you acknowledge it or you choose to ignore it, but you realize like, yo, if you're a Jake out here, shit's peak. You have those Jake that try and blend off. They blend it like they come to the conclusion that that's in their best interest for what they want to achieve. They're thinking, okay, I want to get X, Y kind of lifestyle. They're then like, okay, I've got to assimilate, become part of this, this system.
Or they just do balloons and go raving.
Yeah. Or both.
That's true.
What is it?
I've got another preset.
Kind of.
Isaiah.